I've changed my life over the last 5 or 6 years. Gave my life to God. And when God comes over you, you actually don't look up to nobody but Him. From a place when I watch Him, yes, He talked about his struggles. He was very vulnerable. It was how He felt. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. Because do I have family members and some friends that are, gay? Yes. And I love them. So, but at the end of the day, we talk about freedom of speech. It was his freedom of speech. You're right. In America, you have the freedom of speech. That doesn't mean it doesn't come with consequences. And maybe he was willing to accept those consequences. Now he has to accept those consequences. Real quick, in the Bible, it says, if you're going to go all into me, then give me everything. Drop every single thing that you're doing and come fully invested. So I know a lot of people always make jokes about people who say that, but that's in the word of the book. That's in the word. I look at a person that's been hurt, but I also look at a young man that was vulnerable, dealing with injuries, was a lottery pick, team was having success without him, was traded at a young age from Detroit, traded to another situation. All of those things start playing with your psyche, right? And start playing with your mental. I don't know how deep he was into his Christianity before the injury, but it seemed like he had a lot of time and he dove even deeper to his beliefs. I just think this is just the start of this entire deal when it comes to Jaden Ivey. I believe that other people are about to get involved.
All right, so I don't know what Kendrick Perkins means by other people are going to get involved. I never thought he was the sharpest knife in the drawer, and I don't mean that to take a swipe at him. He just isn't the most scholarly individual, but he did something that 99.99% of the population will never do, including myself, which is play in the NBA. So I got to give him credit, and I think he did win a championship when he was with Boston. But irrespective of Kendrick Perkins, he is one of several people we're going to be talking about today in today's discussion. Because if you haven't been living under a rock, you are aware that the internet has gone crazy over a young man by the name of Jaden Ivey. I'll play the clip in a minute. Jaden Ivey was let go. He was waived. He was terminated from his stay with the Chicago Bulls because of his opinion about the NBA embracing pride, LGBTQ, Pride Month, Pride Celebration, whatever you want to call it. And shortly after he went live and did that Instagram post, they let him go. And it seems like every single black male that is either a sports journalist or a current athlete in the NBA. I got a clip of a guy named Daniel Gafford. Never heard of him, but I know he plays with Dallas after doing a little research. Like, they all trying to be like, whoa, we don't want nothing to do with that. Right? Kendrick Perkins, he just said, I don't agree with it. Now, me personally, I don't agree with the way in which he did it, just considering the type of organization he works for. He knows that the NBA is very, very pro LGBTQ. In my opinion, I think the commissioner has some LGBTQ energy about himself. We'll get into Adam Silver in a minute. But just to give you a refresher, if you haven't heard what he said, that caused the uproar and ultimately his termination.
That the world can proclaim LGBTQ. Right? They proclaim Pride Month and the NBA. They proclaim it. They show it to the world. They say, come join us for Pride Month, to celebrate unrighteousness. They proclaim it. They proclaim it on the billboards. They proclaim it in the streets. Unrighteousness. So how is it that one can't speak righteousness? How is it one that how are they to say that this man is crazy?
So that was the short clip he did when he was on Instagram. Jaden Ivey is a 24-year-old, now former Chicago Bulls basketball player. He was picked in the first round, and he's obviously getting a lot of backlash, and he's also getting a lot of support. Some people are supporting him, more so people who are conservative leaning and unapologetically Christian. But anybody that's in the league, anybody that's a former athlete and they got a big podcast, or they appear on ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever, they are running from him and they are throwing him under the bus as fast as they can blink an eye. They are not playing because they don't want to mess up their bag. The NBA has showed you that Jaden Ivey's position on LGBTQ will not be tolerated. It's even to the point now where you had a player named Daniel Gafford, never even heard of him, but he plays for Dallas. He had on a shirt that says faith, something about faith, and he tried to, let everybody know, like, hey man, this is just my shirt. This don't have nothing to do with my beliefs. And he even brought up the Jaden Ivey situation. Check this out.
I mean, it's a Fashion Nova shirt, so I didn't really even see what it had said until you just said something about it. But I mean, faith isn't for the weak, because God gives his test to his strongest soldiers, most definitely. And, I really can't kind of go deep into that, with the stuff that's kind of going on with, the Ivy situation. I don't want to, get away with anything, so we're going to keep it at that point.
So you had back-to-back.
So he just said during the press conference, Daniel Gafford, who plays for the Dallas Mavericks, I think he went to Arkansas. I did a little research on him. And he wore a shirt that said, faith is not for the weak. Okay, cool. And one of the reporters asked him what his shirt said, and he said something about, this is what my shirt say, God this, God that. But I ain't going to get into all that because of the Ivy situation. I don't want to get waived. So this man is letting the whole world know that he's scared, that he is afraid to say the wrong thing that might be controversial or hurt some people's feelings, because one of his colleagues in the NBA just got let go. And he's 3 years older than Jaden Ivey. He's 27, 28, somewhere around there. So this grown 6'10", in his prime, athletic black man just told the whole world, oh yeah, my shirt say faith ain't for the weak, but hey, bro, I ain't Jaden Ivey, bro. That's basically what he was saying. I ain't like him. I'm gonna be a good little Negro. I'm gonna be quiet. I ain't finna say nothing about LGBTQ. I don't even want to talk about my faith, even though I'm wearing a shirt that got faith on it. You see what I'm saying? I got this post that somebody put on Twitter, which is spot on. It's a Bible verse somebody quoted, and it's 100% true because it came from the Bible. Somebody posted on Twitter, aka X, sad to see. They put the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 33, and I've heard this scripture before. But whoever denies me before men, I will also deny him before my Father who is in heaven. That's Jesus talking in the Bible when Jesus was walking the earth, for those of us that believe in the Bible and believe in Jesus Christ. And here's a prime example of what I'm talking about, how they're not finna mess up their bag. Kendrick Perkins is a prominent NBA analyst for ESPN, appearing regularly on NBA Today, First Take, Get Up, NBA Countdown, and Sports Center. He also hosts the Road Tripping podcast and appears on Cooking Up Parlays with Fanatic Sportsbook. So you see all those different shows, ESPN, Sports Center, all the shows and networks that Kendrick Perkins appears on, and this is all he has. He's never going to play in the NBA again for obvious reasons. He's 41 years old, going on 42. Kendrick Perkins, he don't have anything to prove. He was a big man. Like I said, he won a championship with Boston. I looked it up to make sure I was correct. And a lot of these guys, Shaq, Charles Barkley, Jalen Rose, you look at any of these former NBA players. What's my man name? The 3-point, Reggie Miller. All these guys that are sports podcasters, commentators, sports journalists, even ones that never played in the NBA or NFL. Stephen A. Smith, the biggest black sports journalist in the world right now. These guys are all going to sing the same tune. They're all going to fall in line. They did the same thing to Kyrie Irving when he refused to take the vaccine. They threw him under the bus with the vaccine situation. They threw him under the bus when he retweeted the link to that documentary on X called Hebrews to Negroes. Because they don't want no smoke, bro. They don't want to they don't want to stand on business, bro. Put it like that. Because they know that Adam Silver and the NBA and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, they're gonna come down on and be like, nah, you can't do that. It's either you say what you either speak approved speech, right? We got free speech, but if you speak speech that we don't approve of, there are going to be consequences. And another former athlete named Emmanuel Acho, who I think is Nigerian, he claims that this is partly because he's not talented enough, referring to Jaden Ivey, to talk like that. If he was talented to a certain level, he probably would have got reprimanded, but he probably wouldn't have got fired. Which there may be some validity to that, but he still brought up the Bible and said something that was totally bizarre. And I'm gonna go ahead and play this. It was ridiculous what he just said.
There is freedom of speech, but freedom of speech does not necessarily mean freedom of consequence. I also will remind everybody, starting from the sports perspective, your talent will make room for you. If Jaden Ivey was averaging 20 points and 10 assists right now, 20 points and 10 boards right now, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. But because in January of 2025, he broke his left fibula, and then in October of 2025, he had arthroscopic knee surgery. And then again, he's missed the last 2 weeks he had missed, starting in February 21st after getting traded from the Detroit Pistons to the Chicago Bulls. As a result, averaging 11 points and 3 assists, his talent is not making room for him. Plus, if you're in the training room, we do not necessarily want to hear from you. We want to just see you recovering. So from a sports perspective, starting there, athletes, you know your talent makes room for you. If the talent starts to diminish, we do not want to hear you more than we see you. That's number one.
Now, let me stop right there. The NBA is a business, and if you are a cash cow type of player, if you are a superstar, which Jaden Ivey was not, he was injured, like he said, man, that's the way the game works. Like if LeBron was to say something like that about the LGBT, which we know he won't, but if he was to hypothetically say something like that, or Stephen Curry, or even one of the younger guys like a Donovan Mitchell or a Wembanyama, what's the other boy name from the white boy, Luka Doncic. If it was one of the more prominent players of the league who was bringing tens of thousands of fans to the stadium every week to watch them play, the arena, whatever. Oh man, they would have got backlash. They would have been reprimanded. They would have been, hey, you can't do that. You got to apologize to the LGBT community, and they would have told them to apologize. They might have even fined them, but they would not have fired them. They at the most they might have been suspended for a game or two, if that. If Jaden Ivey was one of those type of players. Now, Emmanuel Acho was 100% correct on that part when he said, your talent does make room for you. Like the old saying goes, some people play by a different set of rules. And because he's hurt, he's actually costing the NBA money right now. He's not even playing. Before he was let go, he was not even playing basketball because he suffered from injury and had to get surgeries, like he just said. Now, let's get into this second part of the clip where he actually tries to use scripture to justify the NBA's action against Jaden Ivey, which is way off. Just listen to what he says.
Number two, I don't like the path that Jaden Ivey is going down. And the reason I say this is this. Number one, Jaden Ivey's been through a lot. If you hear what he's talked about, he was sexually molested as a child. He had a porn addiction while he was married. He's self-admitted that he was abusive towards his wife and his children. These are all Jaden Ivey's words, not my own. And so Jaden Ivey is also acknowledging like he's a struggling individual, or an individual that has struggled. So let me acknowledge that, acknowledge the emotional and the interpersonal aspects as well. Anybody that's been to therapy understands things that happen to you as a child, they impact you as an adult. Now let me talk about the biblical aspect of it. Because Jaden Ivey also has to understand that not everything that's legal is going to be biblical. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's. Also have to understand, you have to be wise, discerning, and tactful as to how you speak and when you speak and who you speak to. Jaden Ivey, if you want to quote Paul in Corinthians, Paul wrote what he wrote to the church in Corinth. He didn't necessarily write what he wrote to the church in Ephesus or the church in Galatia. In the same manner, Jaden Ivey, you got to use discernment of when you speak and who you're speaking to. If your job and your goal is to emulate Jesus, also understand when Jesus saw the woman who had committed adultery, he said, go and sin no more. He didn't then try to extrapolate every single sin and every single man she has slept with adulterously. So I will just start by saying, one, understand there's a difference between legal and biblical. Two, Jaden Ivey, make sure you tend to your mental and emotional health if indeed there is anything going on, because you have been very vulnerable about your struggles previously. And then three, render to Caesar what is Caesar's and render to God what's God's. That's biblical if you want to talk biblically.
Okay, so that was Emmanuel Acho's response, part two. This man said, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's." The rendering unto Caesar, that's a passage in the Bible that's specifically talking about paying taxes to the government. Okay, that has nothing to do with speaking out against sexual immorality, which is what Jaden Ivey was doing when he talked about pride. And I do agree that he would probably still have his career had he not went on Instagram Live and did it. If he just was talking among some of his boys, if he was just, speaking candidly to a couple of his teammates or something like that in the locker room, he would probably still have his career. But we know that the NBA is a very, very, very woke liberal league. It's ran by a Jewish guy by the name of Adam Silver. And I'm about to show you some things about Adam Silver. Adam Silver, in my opinion, he is very soft. He looks weak. He looks frail. He comes off as very feminine. If you ask any masculine man, they'll tell you what I'm telling you. He looks effeminate. He looks soft. And look at him at the Pride Parade. Yes, he has a wife. Yes, he has 2 kids. He had kids late in life. He's, I think, in his early 60s. And I looked it up and said he had a kid in 2015 and 2017, which is 11 years ago and 9 years ago. So he had kids in his late 40s into his early 50s, which is not a bad thing. I don't have a problem with that. The issue that I have is this man is married to a whole woman and he's hanging out at pride parades. I don't know how to do Photoshop. So this is actual real people. You can go look, you can just type in Adam Silver Pride and it'll show right up. So I don't know what's going on in their marriage. I don't know. I ain't gonna get into all that. All I know is Adam Silver comes off as a very weak, frail man. He comes off as very effeminate. And just because a man is married to a woman don't mean he can't live an alternative lifestyle. Not saying he does, but you hanging out at pride parades, you're very defensive of the LGBTQ, and you're firing people for speaking out against that community and that the NBA is associated with such an event. That's just what it is. So in conclusion, man, Jaden Ivey, he's 24 years old. He's a young man. He's got his whole life ahead of him. He's got a wife and 3 kids. He can definitely go play overseas. He can go play in Europe somewhere. He can go play in China. I think he's gonna be all right because he's an NBA athlete at this point in his life. He's still in his prime. He can get even better once he gets recovered from his injuries or heals from his injuries or whatever. I think he recently just had surgery or whatever. So he's gonna be all right in my opinion. His contract was worth millions of dollars. So whatever money he has made, hopefully he can be very, very financially disciplined. I am not surprised that none of the brothers that's in his peer group are standing up for him because they don't want to get the same treatment he got, right? Just like they didn't stand for Kyrie, right? 90-something% of these celebrities, whether they all entertainers, rappers, basketball, football, baseball, actors and actresses, anybody in show business, which NBA is show business, it is what it is. Yes, they athletes, but it's all for entertainment at the end of the day. We don't have to watch the NBA. I don't really watch it like I used to. I watch it here and there, especially around playoffs. But these guys are about one thing and one thing only, and that's that check. They will not do anything to jeopardize that bag. That's why when this situation unfolded, they quickly jumped on boards like, oh, nope, we ain't like this boss. Nah, we ain't like him. No, we don't rock with what he's talking about. We love LGBT, or we just not gonna talk about it at all. Even though a lot of brothers probably agree with him. A lot of brothers probably don't want the NBA to be having Pride Night and all that other nonsense. But that's the way it works, man. I just showed y'all real photos of Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, hanging out at Pride rallies, Pride events. You know what I'm saying? Even though he married to a whole woman. And I was wrong. He's 63. So that means he had his kids in his 50s. So I was a little bit off on my time. I thought he was 60, but he's 63 years old as of now. According to what the internet told me, that's Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner. So if he's hanging out at Pride parades, Pride events, chances are he might have some pride in him, and I'll just leave it at that. I wish the brother the best of luck. If you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. All this money, all this fame don't mean nothing, because at the end of the day, when you pass away, you can't take it with you. And with that being said, I'm out. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Peace.